All right, let's start to journey into mapping the way gravity flows through ribs, through spine. So we're going to start a restorative practice with the bolster across the practice space, a couple of blankets and quarter folds, and I'm adding a little bit of a pillow on top. If you don't have that extra pillow, no big deal. You can just fold your top blanket up. But let's start. We're going to combine cobbler's pose with horizontal chest opener. So we're going to kind of blend them together. It's a big pose blender today. So sit in front of your bolster, no block. This is one with no block under the pelvis. Okay, so you're right up against it. But I do want you to have your belt in a loop. Bring it overhead and let it rest around the back of the pelvis. And first, bring the soles of the feet together and add a block under each thigh. Okay. Now, when I slide the blocks in, I have them at the second setting, but sometimes I like this one with the blocks at the top setting, so the highest. It may feel like, how can I get that to support me? But I bet it will. Okay, so again, if your back is sensitive to this big chest opener, the places you're going to elevate are going to be the knees or your head. Okay, those are the opposite chains, right, that are going to support our back. So take the belt in a big loop and you're gonna scoop up the feet so the belt goes around my feet, soles of the feet together. And I'm going to pull on the belt so that it's snug around the back of my pelvis. And I'm gonna move the belt pretty low, okay? So it's like around the eyebrows of the buttocks. Okay, now as I pull the bolster in, I'm gonna lower back. I got my sandbag nearby. And I'm going to shift my blocks so they contour on my thighs. And this is where you want to make sure the buckle is close by. Right, so if you need to get out or basically not use it, that's fine. But I think this is a nice way, as I settle back, to feel where this core span is elongating. Right, so feeling where the spine is in its delicate arch. And then you'll take the sandbag maybe from the heart to the belly. Okay, so this movement of the rib cage might feel more successful for some of us without the sandbag. So if you add the sand and your arms open out the chest and you decide too much, right, of anything, just you want to feel what it's like minus the sand, just take it off or keep it on. Okay, and let's settle in. So I've got enough height under my head. This feels really comfortable for me. So if you need to get a little bit more of a stack of support under your head, not under your, all the way to the bolster, it's right under your skull. And as your arms open, the shoulders center back. And the rib cage expands and relaxes. Okay, so feel the sensations of the breath. Now, again, you might take the sand off and see if it feels more comfortable for your back, for your ribs. Sometimes to just have the center kind of pure and open, you can feel the levers of the lower body kind of press away and the upper body, the brain relax back. Arms open, shoulders back. Now, feeling as you express that movement in the ribs outwards, breathing in through the nose. Emphasize the movement of the breath that's way below the chest. I know we all breathe in that space because there's the lungs, but feel that the movement outwards, like you're letting the belly expand just the right amount, not too much. Because if I really try to blow it up, actually that feels good on my back, but if I try to go too much, it might cause some sensation on the sides of the spine. That's just a little tightening. So use the props to support the opening of the ribs for a few more rounds of breath. Okay, now taking the sand off the core, we're going to remain the same on the back space on the props, but we're going to unbuckle. And now you just kind of feel what it's like when you slide the belt off your feet and shift so that you bring the knees to point up and walk the feet in. And I think this is a delightful shift. Okay. The knees out really does cause quite a bit of a, and kind of an energetic pull, right? For the SI area, for other areas besides the back. But here with the knees pointing up, my feet a little wider than hips distance, maybe turning in slightly. Then I feel, oh, this isn't so bad, right? With my rib cage and my spine articulation. So take a few waves of breath, kind of feel the currents of the in and the out breath, just with the simplicity of spine arching on the bolster, breathing slow. And that connection to the breath wave probably changed a bit from when the knees were out, okay? Now it might feel like, okay, the belly gently moves forward, just the right amount, right? And then relaxes back to the spine. Now shift the left foot a little closer towards your seat. And we're going to use a ball coming up. So if you want to find out where that is, you want to get your ball. And you're going to place it to the upper outer left thigh. Now it's probably right up against the bolster, right? The ball. It's like, it couldn't be any closer, but you are going to try to tuck it under. And I'm going to leave my block over there in case I want to use it. But it's at the upper outer left thigh. And as I lift the right leg, I got to find a way to get my ribs to expand here, cross the right ankle to the left knee. And then knees are going to shift to the left. My lower body is shifting, not all of it, like navel center ribs on the bolster, but really kind of in the isolating of the hips. So my left hand holds the right knee. And I like the block under my left leg here. I'm just going to leave that be. But there's all this exertion going on with the respiratory muscles. So taking the dose of in breath, feel and exhale. And the breath pace might be even. It might be a little challenged. So as the leg crosses to the left, feeling as you're holding to that right leg, it could be knee, it could be below the knee. I think I like the hand holding just below the knee, right at the top-ish of the tibia. Just find a good hold where you're guiding the right leg over to the left. And just feeling into that right hip for a few more breaths. Notice where the sensation is in the right hip. Let go of the leg with the left hand releasing. Grab the ball, and then you're going to just move it over to the right rear. I know there's props all around, so you might have to move your block out to the side, but you're going to roll the ball under that right rear. And now, since you're so close to the bolster on this one, it's kind of different rolling it when the bolster is horizontal versus perpendicular. I find it a little different and a little easier. So you're going to uncross the right ankle, and then finding that it is vulnerable, right? You still have your chest kind of opening. The reach of the rib cage is kind of vast here. But the key would be moving your hips like you're wagging your tail, and the ball is at the right rear, okay? And you're going across the three glute muscles, and feeling as you bend your knees and maybe walk your feet in a little bit or a little bit apart, you can kind of feel where the glute zone is. It's okay if you move your leg straight down, the right leg, or you kick it up so you can roll across. But instead of finding stillness on the ball, you want to kind of rock and roll. Okay, so movement across the glute. If you get stuck on one little segment of the glute, that's kind of normal on this one. So you can always take the ball, move it a little bit further in, right, towards the center, or further to the border. I kind of like the border rolling more than the center. because of the muscle there that's a little bit, it just feels good, closer to joints. So that area feels good to get rubbed, right, and massaged. So just use that ball and the weight on the ball to help you map the way gravity flows into the glute. So I'm just moving my hips side to side. And then as you come back to centering, you're going to just move the ball a little bit to the right side besides the upper outer right thigh. Left ankle lifts and crosses, left leg lifts and crosses the ankle to the right knee. And then as you tilt the knees to the right, the bottom foot, the right foot is lifting and turning out. I suppose it's sickling, right? So it's not like I'm turning my foot straight out, but I'm rolling on the side bones of my right foot. I happen to find that block over there. This is a bit of a trust process for this practice in the beginning because you're so vulnerable with the ribs stretching out wide. But, after a few minutes, your ribs start to, find a little bit of endurance with this exercise. I can do it a little longer. Hold the left knee with the right hand. And if it's difficult on side two to get the leg with your hand reaching, it gives you a little information. Maybe the sides are not quite even with the flexibility, their range of motion. One side might be stuffier. Okay. So the arm on that left side relaxes open, head relaxes back. I really need the extra height under my head. It feels like I need this. So, you could just roll the blanket up more under your head. I don't want you to feel like you're scrunching your chin to your chest. You want some length in the neck. But the rib energy is so intense on this version with the bolster across that you probably need a little more height under your head than we're used to. Okay, so feeling as you're holding that left knee, you're pulling the leg towards the right, kind of keeping the pelvis still, but stretching in the muscles, right, that are combined pelvically, let's call it that, pelvically. I don't know if that's a word, pelvically. Not certain about that. Probably not. Okay, now as you let go of the knee, you'll bring the knees back center, but with the ball. Okay, so take the ball over to that left side, roll it under, and roll it under, and then uncross the left foot and start to move the hips. Now it's got to be both. Of course, you can't isolate just the left hip. But you'll feel the ball. You might have to tuck it under more if it's like just on the border of the hip. You might even bring it all the way up to the bolster. Okay, it's tempting to come off the bolster and get a little bit deeper sensation in the glute. We'll get to that eventually today, but take the time just to get the chest to continue to stretch open, and then you're trying to coordinate the movement of the hips. It's a little tough to get these to move when the back is being asked to get such a stretch. But once your feet are on the ground, your hips are lifted a little bit, it's a little easier on the back. You can start to feel that movement in the hips. Take a few more breaths. We're just about ready to roll on the bolster and get into our sides. So press into that ball and then come back down to your seat. Move the ball to the left. Take one more cross layer chest opener, right? So we open the chest. Feel the layers in the back that are pushing up into it. And then with the feet walking in, if they haven't already walked in towards your seat, roll to your left, okay? And let's come into a side sage pose. Let's focus on moving these rib spaces. And this is probably when you don't really need that extra blanket or pillow that you have with a fold. And I like the blanket like this sometimes for side sage. So I'm going to use a ball under my right inner knee, and I'm going to place a block on the other side, but I might not need this because I have a blanket all the way back to kind of give me a little bit more support for my arm. And find a sandbag. If you have no bag of weight, that's okay. But you might feel if the sand goes across or if it goes lengthwise. You kind of feel the differences of support. And then as you lean into the bolster, bring the right arm to reach overhead. Okay, it might be a relief after the last pose, like feeling your physiology respond. Maybe the comfort of taking a new shape. But what you felt in the previous shape kind of comes into the second one. They combine one into the next. So as I go into my side sage pose, I have my head relaxing into the blankets. And again, if you need more height under your head, add it, right? Maybe it's to take the blanket and fold it up a little bit more. You can feel if the side of your neck is getting tighter, you can't relax the weight of your head down, that you need more height under your head. So with that feel of breath, reminding yourself to relax your neck. Just beginning to feel the breath, not everything held in the face right now. I think that's what's kind of interesting, seeing ourselves before and after class. It's like we kind of drop into the body a little more, a little less stress in the face. So feeling, and if the arm gets tired, mine is about now, I'm just going to move my right hand down besides the the rib space on the bolster for the last few moments here. It could be hand on the bolster, it could be hand on the side, that right hip area, or maybe you keep it overhead. But there is a little bit of a sensation that could be borderline, it's too much, right? So resting into the bolster. Move the sand off the hip, off the side, and let's start to come into a twist. Now, when I turn to the left, I'm going to move the ball out from under that right inner leg and then draw the right leg to the left foot. Now, it could be my right leg is kind of being supported by my left foot. It could be my right leg stacks on the left leg, but both are good. Now, when you turn, just rotate and turn the bolster, pivot it up. You might want to have your blanket on top. I'm a person that prefers that version of this, but I'm going to try it today and see how it feels without the blanket. I think it's that bit of curve the blanket gives for the neck that is appealing. So when you turn and you take the twist into sage pose, the second sage pose, sleeping sage, relax your head, turning it to the side. And on this pose, we only turn our head to one side, right? If child's pose would be different, but as we turn, feel that spine in motion with the breath, right? It's almost a little bit a game of the pelvis, the sacrum, motioning to the left, that back space opening up. And if you need some support under your head instead of the bolster, you can always take your blanket out, one of them, and cross that on top if it doesn't feel cozy, even if it's just for a little bit of time. And you can try them both out and decide, oh, this is better for my neck, maybe. But some days you can adapt to either one. Some days not. but maybe no ball under the knee, just that right thigh to the left foot or on top of the left thigh. But I like to have it to the foot so I can stretch in my lower back, right from the sacroiliac area straight across. I kind of feel like this range into my hip flexor, okay? Or you can have the legs stacked and that'll feel maybe a little easier. Okay, and take a few more breaths here. This is one where you might want to put some earplugs in and take a nap and reconnect when you're ready. Okay, now slide the hands under the shoulders, press to come up. Now let's turn to hands, knees to table. And maybe you have a blanket under your knees. If you're someone who needs that support, just add it under your knees. And if you're comfortable without, just finding the hands stretching out through the fingers and round your back into cat pose, chin towards the chest. And then inhale the breath, arching the spine. Hips reach back, chest forward, round the back, articulate through the back muscles, chin to chest. In breath, arching the spine. Okay, now come back to neutral. Okay, now find the ball, right? So I want you to, if you've got your wall space nearby, you're just going to kind of push it back there because we'll use it. And we'll hook the toes under, toes hook under, lift the knees and alternate bending them. And you might pedal it out with your feet stepped a little wider. You might decide to have the legs simply stretching back evenly and not have anything to do with pedaling, okay? But I tend to find most of my energy in the arms sometimes, so I'm trying to reach the pelvis back. Yeah, I know that requires some flexibility. So as you walk your feet towards your hands and your hands back to your feet, take a forward fold, relaxing the arms. Okay, so that might be I dangle the arms. It might be my head, my neck relaxes straight down. You might end up holding your elbows for traction. Okay, but just kind of feel if the neck can release. And if it doesn't, maybe for you, you have your hands holding the backs of the thighs or a little bit higher, right? The calves, sorry, not the thighs, a little bit higher on the back of the calves towards the knees. And then you're going to grab the ball, this is key, and you're going to roll up. Now roll up so that you reach the tailbone back, and then you lift up through the sternum. I know you can see parts of me. When you come up, I want you to go back to a wall space. Now, I beg you to use a wall space on this somewhere in your home, because it is nice to do this. You're going to place the softball next to your right hip, and then push into that ball and massage into the back border. So it's going to be, I'm pushing through the glute zone. And you really are working, the medius area is going to be kind of on this side band. And as you're pressing, it might be kind of fun to lift the leg and kind of cross it. I don't know if you've done that with the wall work, with the ball roll. But give yourself time to go through these three areas, okay, at your own pace. You decide. You might stay with the hips focus the whole time. So going to the other side. Now remember, you can go to the sacrum and stay there and massage across the sacrum. Okay. And then go to side 2. So I'm on the left side. And give yourself a little bit of time to roll it. Now a little bit of time for us is probably at least 20 seconds. And I can push away by get my feet a little far away from the wall so I get a little more pressure into the glute. It's so noisy. Yes, you can use a tennis ball for this or you know. So Mary Alice, you might be doing that. Okay, now take the ball up between the shoulder blades. So you're against the wall, knees bending, okay? And then go across the blades. Okay, my favorite. And the nice thing about a wall with a massage with these softer balls is you can get higher up on the back easily versus when you're on the floor. And when you're on the floor, you end up pulling your neck, right? So on this one, you can go all the way up to the trapezius. You could get the ball pretty high up at the back and use the body weight to push into the feet, which then helps you push back into the wall, into the ball, right? Okay. Hope that feels good. And if you're working a lot with your hip movement, just work with gliding across the upper back. Arms can dangle, arms can be open. Breathe. It only helps. It's a funny sound, isn't it? Not your breath, but the sound of the ball. Okay, now as you push back, you're gonna push as far back as you can. Walk your feet back towards the wall. You probably can't get your feet against the wall. But take a moment with the ball between the blades, okay? And you're gonna bring your arms out and up. Okay, if you can't see, I think I could do this sitting. Okay, so this is another example, right? You'd sit with the ball between the blades, arms out and up. And then going back out and going across. Actually, this feels really good sitting. I prefer it. Easier. I don't have to push into my feet. But find that cross, and then as you bring your hands together, interlace your fingers and go into cat pose, right? You're pushing into your hands, you're stretching, you're pushing into the ball, stretch between the blades. So you could come to sitting on this if you want, but then you have to get back up. You don't have to get back up. Okay, if you want to try it sitting, go for it. Okay, now as we come up with the arms with that reach, we bring the arms back down. If you're standing, you're going to come to a forward fold and lower down. So I would say just put the ball off to the side. I like to come into forward fold with the seat at the wall. I do find that quite helpful. Or if you're on the floor sitting, you can just come forward into hands and knees. But as I lean forward, I bend into the legs, hinge at the hips and the knees, and walk on forward, crawl on forward. Bring your feet back, maybe to the wall, and then lower down to the knees and start to come into side sage on the right hip. So you're going to grab the bolster, turn it across, start to come down to right hip. Hopefully that felt kind of good on the back space, the hips, the upper back. And then take your blanket stack. This should be adequate. A couple folded blankets, a block behind on top of the blankets. And then right thigh is up against the bolster and the ball under the knee. And as you lean in, try to keep that bolster across. Guide down so the waist is stretching and sand, hopefully the same direction as the first side. If you can't remember, it's okay. But feeling as the left leg is moving downwards and caution on pushing it too far back, the left leg. So I would say keep it really simple on the leg parts. And the focus is not big leg stretches here. So I just feel that side span of the left. Okay, I feel just the right amount of pressure with the sand. Maybe it's too much on the hip. Sometimes the sand on the hip affects the knee. Right, so if you go, oh, my knee's not super pleased with this, maybe move the sand higher and see. So your head resting on the blanket, your arm reaching overhead to the block. Just turning your head a little bit will affect the ability to relax the neck for the better, probably. So if I roll a little bit on the back of my skull, just a little itty bit, and then relax my head, that feels comfortable. Breathing slow. Just feel the weight center into your hip. A little bit of weight bearing. Now, if you've got sand on the waist, you might find that ability to kind of feel the threads, that connection of the costals, right? The muscles between the ribs. It might feel like they're just kind of packed together, right? They're kind of pressed inwards. So taking the sand off might be helpful, right? So you can feel that. I like the sand for the kind of weight training for my breathing muscles, but if you need to remove it so you feel the opportunity to express the rib cage, that's fine too. But we do that when we take the twist. So as we start to let the weight of our hip, our ribs, the reach of the arm maybe comes away now so that you can relax the shoulder. If one side felt a lot of energy in the joint, then the other side, just noticing that. Where in the joint was it feeling that pressure building? And then find where it's tolerable with the left arm. And then when you move the sand off that left side, we're going to take the twist to the same direction we're at right now. We don't have to make many changes, except we're going to rotate to the right and take the ball out, bring the left thigh so it's connected to the right, so you can feel that connection of the thigh touching on. And then when you turn, I don't know about you, but I felt pretty good with the bolster just pivoting up on the blankets. I was pretty comfy with it. So if you decide when you find that pivot, that turn with the bolster, that you can just relax on it. So feeling that there's a little bit of turn from my sitting bone on my right side, and then above that, there's a big gap between the sitting bone and then the ribs that twist. So all that work in the middle there is activated. So I would say get a feeling of your chest resting down, let your head turn to the left, and just breathe. You're relaxing your heart, relaxing the breath. Hands press down, slide them back so you can easily press. And now we're going to start to shift so that the legs stack together. And then as you turn, this is probably a time you're going to want your blanket under your knees. even if you've got a lot of padding where you are, a little bit of a carpet, I would say blanket under knees would be ideal. And I have it as a pretty, it's a kind of a substantial fold. It's not ultra flat, you know, the lowest it could be. So that when I'm on the blanket, I'm going to be closest to the wall, but I don't have to touch a wall for this one. And then as I have my knees on the blanket, I kind of want to touch the wall, I guess, but I will keep my knees up and then grab the bolster and let's take it first. Let's just turn the bolster across and reach in your arms. Now I know the idea, the cue is usually reach your hands, but kind of feel out of your back, that reach of the arms, okay? And then let the spine go into flexing. So you're rounding the back right now. Forehead maybe touches the bolster. Right, see if you can get your forehead to the bolster. Toes under or relax. They're both okay. Okay, I tend to have them under, but I think relaxing might be better for me. And then I'm going to curl a little bit through the lower back. And then as I reach the hips down to the bolster, start to feel that arching from in the front of the spine. Okay, lifting up your face a little bit towards the ceiling. And then let your head lower down and feel as you push into your hands that movement of the shoulders back to the hips. And then bring your forehead back down to your bolster, if that's possible. Now, it is nice to get that curve, right? So you're feeling curve and like a flow through the back. So working your way towards not so much pose, what's the pose name, but the movement of hips moving down to the bolster, lifting up through the front of the spine, and then head lowers down. You can feel that your spine is stretching back, and sometimes the abdominals will feel a lot of pull here. And then the little cat pose, forehead touches to the bolster, maybe, it might not touch the bolster. And then once more, hips move down, thigh lids touch onto the bolster, and then as you move the chest forward, sequentially you're pushing through your hands and lifting up. Okay. All right, now come back to table, turn your bolster lengthwise, so perpendicular. This is a good blending here. So we're gonna come down on the bolster, but I would say go a little slower than you're used to. It's kind of tempting to just drop on the bolster and just lay on it, but lower down. So the hips, the thigh lids touch down. So my knees are on the blanket. And then as I lower down, I'm going to move my feet a little bit farther out and then take my blanket that's at the other side and bring my elbows out on the blanket. So it's like your feet are far enough out, and your elbows aren't going to be as far as the feet, right? But they're still far out, and forehead down onto your hands. Okay, now, once your head is down, okay, the glutes can relax, right? If my head is lifting, it's like there's this correspondence that gradually picks up in the glutes. Like, let's fire, okay? So when your forehead is down, relax the rear and breathe. Let's take about a full minute here, just feeling the connection of the belly pushing into the bolster. Yeah, if it's really awkward on the chest, you can always move a little forward on the bolster or turn the bolster horizontal if it's a lot of chest pressure. Okay, now tops of the feet relax. Just starting to lift your head up off the hands. And now, can you do that without the glutes gripping, right? So I find I can if I had a period of time when I was not gripping my glutes or my rear muscles. But if I have a period of time of saying stop gripping, then when I come up, I don't grip them. Okay, but when we're moving our legs and so forth and our rounding and weight on the knees, it's a little easier to engage quickly there. So as you slide your hands under the shoulders, palms down, elbows by the sides, really recruit the strength along the spine. So we're going to stretch the arms back, the sides of the hips, hands off the floor, lifting the chest just a little bit. Think about tummy time, baby back bends. Breathe. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring the hands back under the shoulders, elbows by the sides, lifting into up dog. So I'm stretching the arms to straighten out, lengthening the torso. And then when I come back to table, see how the glutes kind of wake up right away? We'll bring the knees in towards each other. They can be close to touching. And let's move our blocks into focus here. So we're going to have a block for each hand and move the bolster nearby because you're going to probably need it. So have it nearby so when you're ready for it, you can bring it in under the thigh. But first things first, we got our blocks. Okay, we had a little bit of playtime with the back. We'll step the right foot forward between the blocks, and as it's kind of not perfectly between, it's to the right side, but when you're in that lunge, can you find a way to let the front of the back thigh feel that kind of, it's, you know, the front of the back thigh is not straight up and down, and it's got a curve right now in this shape. So I want you to feel where there's that contour, that little bit of curve in the left thigh. No, you don't have to put the thigh on the ground. What I was playing with on this one was the ball under the base of my quad. So I had the ball like above the knee when I was lunging, but that kind of makes you force the leg. Maybe it's too forceful on the knee. So you can always try it. You could put the ball like on the blanket, so it's right next to your knee, and just kind of, you just notice it's less knee pressure in some way. Some way you have to kind of push the leg down onto it. So you can try it out. Might feel good. Don't put the ball under the knee. Okay, that's too much. So feel that lunge. And let's have the left hand on the block, of course, and we'll turn to the right and bring the right arm to reach up. No lifting of the back leg, unless you like, I have to, my knee doesn't tolerate it, that's different. Then you can hook the toes under and stretch the left leg back and take that rotation. But move from the sides of the waist, right, lifting, and then lower the right hand down, and then feel the back foot, toes under, pushing into the ball of the foot, lifting the back knee up. Breathe. It only helps. Right knee is above the ankle. And then as you push off the ball of that left foot, you're going to step it to the right. It might be a surprise move for your hip. Just feeling the hips, maybe wag your tail a little bit, shake your rear, okay? Get a feeling of the bending of the knees. And then take the right leg to step back, okay? So first things first, we're focusing on low lunges. So the right knee is on the blanket, but if you decide, I like to have my knee up, thanks, you can stay with that, okay? So right knee goes down, right foot relaxes. I'm liking this ball thing, just at the base of that thigh. So I have it right at the blanket, and then it gives me a little bit of traction there. Kind of takes away the deeper touch of the knee, that knee to the blanket. And giving yourself that reach of the waist. Feel the curve from your hip, through the torso, through the ribs. Breathing. Okay, if you're feeling there's areas that are kind of getting blocked, like the shoulders, everything might be tightening up. See what you can feel that's kind of, you know, loose-ish motion, right? From breathing, from the chest. And then we turn to the left, bring the left arm to lift up, right hand on the block. Yeah, you might notice the right thigh is gonna just shift down a little bit more, go with gravity. Try to get the waist to turn, breathing. And now lower the left hand down. Okay, shift, get a bolster, slide it across the mat under that left thigh. And I do want you to know we are going to try to work with the wall pretty soon here. So you might push the bolster back a little bit towards your wall space, or if you're not using one, don't worry about the positioning of your bolster right now. And walk the left foot toes heel to the right side of your mat. And then it does have the appearance of a pigeon pose, not an actual pigeon. Okay, so you're gonna lean in, and then you're gonna swing the right leg around to take a seat. Okay, all right. So blanket could go away. I don't think you're gonna need your blanket for this. So toss the blanket and then scoot your bolster so you can easily touch the wall behind you. And I would say you just want to easily touch it. It doesn't want to be like you're going to make a big print on the wall, but the wall can be a really nice support to engage our rotation. Okay. All right. So on to this face. Let's take we're going to need a ball, a block, a sandbag on that right side. So putting the sand to the right. I would say have the ball for the left knee and a block for the right. So I'm going to sit kind of straightforward, kind of notice so I have a good alignment. I'm not twisting to the screen as much. Then I'm going to stretch the left leg to about between 10 and 11 o'clock. And I'm going to put a ball under my knee. And this is for massive safety. So some of us maybe feel like, well, I won't get as much of a stretch, but I think your knee will be happier. Okay. It's up to you, ultimately. Okay, now as the right knee is out, I am going to start to make a turn to the right. So my left leg kind of stays the same. Don't let it move too much. But all this other area can have movement. So I'm going to slide my right foot to my left thigh, get a block under the thigh. And I'm going to actually start, I'm going to pivot a little bit to the right. So I'm going to have my block under my right. And I say thigh because some of us might decide to move the block closer in. But the left leg stayed about the same. If I turn straight forward, it's still at between 10 and 11 o'clock. Okay. Depends on your feel in your back. Now take a sandbag. Okay. And I think these are interesting seated poses with the wall especially. But when I find that upright position for my ribs and my turn to the right, we're going to bring the right hand back to the wall. Hopefully it's close enough. Left hand to the right knee. And then as you take that rotation, see if you can get the hand to turn. This is oftentimes called shoulder clock. Some people call it arm clock, shoulder clock, as we come into the rotation. So feel the weight in your seat. Feel the turn through the ribs. Breathing slow. And you might even take a few moments with the right hand maybe off the wall and just see how the rotation is going without the wall support. Okay, it's okay to do that. You can have your hand, if for instance, if you're not using the wall, you have your hand on a block or a blanket stack. But with the wall, this gets me kind of set up for the side stretch. So bring the right hand to the right rib cage, lean to the left leg, so it's all the way down on that left side, the left arm to that left leg, or the left arm can be on a block. I have a preference for a block under my left elbow. And I can put the block as high as I want, so it's a little bit easeful for my rib cage to settle. Door number one would be arm resting behind your back, right? Feeling that chain of circulation from the back of the pelvis to the side of the torso. Okay, door number one's here. I'm pretty content with this. I'm going to stay with this, but I will show if you want to find a different variation. Some of us might think of this as progressing, but it's not progressing if it's uncomfortable. Okay, so if the arm is reaching to the left, you can feel how the ribs turn. Yeah, it's interesting to work with it for a bit, but you know, if you're sort of tender in back area, if it's an area that you're kind of trying to get more hydration to, you might stay with the hand to the back and accept where you are with it. Just get some nice circulation in the kidneys, low back, waist area, QL. Okay, don't forget to lift the chin, right? So I'm not trying to drop my chin. Everything matters. And as you come on up, lifting up through the sternum, the chest, and then turn the navel back forward. So you're looking away from the wall now, facing away. Left ankle crosses in front. And let's take this hand over onto the floor on the left side. But first things first, bring the soles of the feet together, center on the bolster, okay? Knees can have the blocks under the thighs. That might feel easier for you. And take a forward fold, lean forward, try to keep the chest reaching. Hands could be on knees, hands could be on hips, or what we all see on this pose is hands on ankles, but you might change your routine a little bit sometimes just to feel the elementary variation of these, just simple, good alignment, not pouring out the spine, but strengthening in the spine versus the rounded back, okay? All right, so feet are pushing a little bit together. As you come up, try to come up with your feet pushing in together. I don't know how that feels for you, but it's kind of a nice balancing. My feet push together. And then as I let the right leg stretch out, I'm going to take the ball under the right knee. And then my left leg, I'm going to keep the block under it, but I'm going to pivot. So my hands on the bolster, pivot. So my right thigh has a little more stretch. My left foot goes to my right thigh. Now, if my knee isn't liking that, then I don't force it closer to my right thigh. I just use the block under the left knee. And I'm using the leg pattern so I can get the movement in my pelvis, my sacrum, pelvis moving to the left, right? That's why I position my leg out to the right to about 1, 2 o'clock, kind of more of a 1, it looks like. And then take a sandbag to the left thigh at the top, and then keep on going to the left. Left hand back at the wall, and turn. You know, you're trusting the process here. Like, are you in the same exact spot on the bolster when you turn to side 2? Kind of feel that gesture of lifting the chest, rotating. You know, we're going to be letting this build us up into go to our inversions next and massaging the back and the hips. So this should be a good setup for that. So left hand, you know, maybe one side you have the palm more. Some of us will have the pads of the fingers more. Some have, you know, hand stuff, feels uncomfortable. Some people might put the hands in more of a fist if the hands don't feel good with it. So it's all okay. Okay, now with that ability to rotate, kind of wind up through the spine. Yeah, feeling that ribs as the steering wheel. Okay, that works pretty good. All right, now I'm going to bring the left hand to my left side of my lower back so the hand is open. Then I'm going to lean down to that right side. Now I'm going to take the block. Okay, I'm going to place it under that right elbow and lean in. Flex the right foot. Okay, maybe it doesn't have to be perfect on that, but feeling as you go to side 2, just for this side, you don't have to spend time comparing, but feel the body leaning into the right. And maybe this side feels appropriate to lift the arm. Breathe. Now with that left arm lifting, going behind your back with the arm, the hand. And then as you come up, crown of the head, like there's a string at the top of your head, and bring you center. Okay. And then let's actually go on to our backs. Okay. So that felt kind of prim and proper in the movement. So now that we've had that lift off of the back of the pelvis, we're going to turn. So you just move your bolster a little bit away from the wall and then just turn around on the bolster. This way it'll be easier to move it. Okay, so if you need to come down off the bolster and then just push it back, that might be the best approach to this. Then take a seat back on it. You're close-ish to the wall for some of us. And then blocks to the side. Have the blocks so they're each at the corners of the bolster, the short ends, and have them at the second setting so they're high enough to support you. Okay, ball probably down on the floor so it's easier for you to get back, and the tailbone's at the edge of the bolster. So when I'm lowering down, I got a blanket behind me. It just happens to be there. That's lucky. Blanket under the back of my skull center, and then once I feel this kind of traction, I like this. We've done ribs in the beginning with the bolster. Now we're at the pelvis. So the ball is center of the knees. And I got my little bumpers. These may be too high. The bumpers may be too high, but I'm going to move them a little bit to the side. And my eventual ambition is to touch the block. Okay, now, you could have the block pretty high. You might knock it over. But as you're going side to side, arms could be close in and they could be out. You get to decide. Okay, and maybe relax your being too ambitious of touching the block right away. I find that's a little much for me. So I'm just feeling a little bit higher up in the ribs than I did a few moments ago with the twists. So noticing how bolsters can really help the rib areas to stretch. Okay, now taking the last few moments here with the crossovers, just feeling and maybe sensing the lower part of your back. Okay, the low part of the back. And the movement is arching because I got the bolster under my tailbone, so it creates the arch. But this rib area really has to feel free to turn a little bit because that's the mid vertebrae that gets the motion. Okay, now come back into center. Okay, and just squeeze the ball with the leg muscles. Give a little squeeze. Bring your knees towards your chest. And then just let the legs stretch up so you can kind of let that reverse that gravitational, reverse it down towards the heart. So draining out. Okay, now as you take gravity in some way off the spine, right? Because we're not sitting up, we're not pushing into our feet. And we're just letting the legs be the lift to support my back. So I like the ball center of the knees quite a bit. I don't try to emphasize squeezing it to the point where I'm efforting a lot with my legs, but I just a little dose of energy through the inner leg. The arms are open. Relax the feet or move them, right? If you just have a craving to circle through your feet a little bit or twinkle your toes, it might feel kind of nice, especially if they just feel like, these clumps at the bottom of your legs. Sometimes articulating the feet is a little bit of a journey since they get put in little boxes, right, in shoes. So just let them move, let them relax. Okay. So now we're going to add the belt. So where did your belt go? It didn't roll away. We know that. So it's somewhere nearby. And you might just stay with your legs lifted for the time being and continue that inversion. Okay, improve that flow through the legs back to the heart. And then as you can keep changing that directional flow, you're going to buckle up and we're going to place the belt around the feet, not the ankles. So as I connect, I got to get rid of the ball because that just doesn't seem to be something we can add to this one. And belt on the feet, and then just push the feet out wide. Okay. So when I have the feet in that wide range, or the legs, the wide stance, I like to call it, but it's just leg float. Okay, right? So they're out. You don't have to turn them around or anything, but so you can see both feet are holding onto the belt. And if I can feel, I'm actually sliding back on my bolster a little bit, so I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm going to kind of hold on to the edges and see if I can scoot a little bit down, just a little bit. so that it's a little more comforting for my lower back. Okay. Now, if you find I really got to do more of that, you can always take your belt off, put your feet on the floor, and pull your bolster a little bit up on the back so your tailbone's at the edge. But it's worth it. It really is worth it to be on that edge of the bolster. Okay. Depends on the kind of bolster you use. If you have a bolster that's the really wide, really plump ones, not the hugger muggers, those probably you don't have to be at the edge. That's a big ask, but a dense bolster is worth it. Okay. So feet in that wide reach, relax your eyes, and just simply feel the movement of the core. Right, you're changing that flow back to the heart, so the abdominal organs are pushing onto the diaphragm each inhale. So it gives you a little bit of that core strengthening, that mid-body pull. And what might be kind of interesting to collaborate with in your parts, your leg parts, is to have them opposite directions for a bit. So let's bend the knees, reach up to the belt and pull on it so the feet come together. Belt can be twisted, it's no big deal. And then left leg lowers down. Hopefully you're not going to kick the wall, but it is nice to have it sometimes to kind of secure that reach and feel the connection of the foot. Okay, got a big loop. So make sure it's big enough that if your leg is vertical, it reaches to the crown of your head. Okay, now if it's not that, you're going to have to loosen it up before you get going, so it's fair. And then when I scoop up the back of my head, I have it kind of high up from the occiput, so it's right around the contour, the curve of my skull. I prefer that. I've tried a few different ways over time, and I don't want it anywhere near my neck, really. Just not anywhere near. So it's above the ears. And as I lean back, I can add the sand to the left thigh or just be here. I'm going to keep the leg sand free. It just feels pretty nice to let the leg kind of shake out a little bit. But a lot of us like the sand on the left quad. So this is what that would look like. You would take your sandbag and apply it to the top of that left thigh. So maybe kind of push it down. If it interferes with the kind of distribution of energy in the body, if it's just blocking, don't use it. Sometimes it works really great. So head leans back. Now I'm going to lower my head to my blanket because that feels kind of nice. I still get some traction, but I'm not gripping my neck. Okay, now the right hamstrings get quite the flow all the way to the calf, and the foot's responsible for all of that because it's holding the leg up. Right, the belt's holding the leg up, the connection to the brain is holding everything up. So with a few moments, reaching, breathing. Okay, now hands on the back of your head, keeping that belt in place. If you have a sand on the left thigh, slide it off, and then slide the left foot in, maybe first foot on the ground, so you can feel the layer of the pelvis supported. You might bend the right knee a bit, and then bring the left foot up into the belt, and switch the leg, lower the right leg down. Feel that reach through the hip, down through the foot. And then as you're balancing the pelvis, it's kind of an interesting pelvic balancing of the bowl, right? So the sandbag might be really welcome for you in your right quadricep. It might not. So just kind of feeling the energetic of my pelvis, the basin, the right leg reaching. the left leg is lifting up out of the basin as well, right? It's kind of interesting how the legs are featured out of the pelvic bowl. And as your head lowers down, if you like to, some of us like to keep it up. We just get kind of interested in that massive amount of traction, circulation in the neck. And I'm just on the side of being really elementary with it. I just want to feel the most basic a bit of movement, kind of at the cranial vault. And I think this is an interesting kind of cranial sacral pose as well. Sacrum is up, cranial bones are lifted. Okay, take a few more moments here. Now, if the leg is hyperextending on the top, be a little careful here. Maybe bend the knee. Feel a little bit of bending in the left leg. As you hold the back of your skull, slide any sand off before that, probably. And now you just hold onto the belt and slide it off the back of your head, and then slide the right foot in, bend the left knee, and then taking your belt off your foot. Okay, now knees lifting up. Now we're going to slide off the bolster, so caution here with the pressures in the back. So even though our hips are up and there's quite a bit of back sensation here, building, I want you to start to work so that when we're going through the arching and the curving of our back, we have the knees into the chest so that we get a lot of that curve. And then we just push into the bolster, remove it down off the back of the pelvis so it slides down so your feet are on the bolster. Now, I tend to push my bolster kind of far down, but I do have to remind myself I need my feet to feel like they can push on the bolster. It's not sliding away. So when you push into your feet and you lift your hips up, noticing how it moves up the spine, right? The circulation moves up my back to my shoulders and then going back down the spine. Okay, so take your time. If you want to remove your blanket from under your head, this might be a good time for just this direction, right? This exercise without the blanket. So you can go all the way up as your arms reach overhead into bridge pose and then down the spine. Yeah, if it feels a little bit distorted with the circulation stream, right? You might take a little more time. I know going slower can sometimes make it feel even more choppy, but there's no, you don't have to go fast on this. You can go slow. There's no competition. Like if you do this 3 times fast, you're over with it. Okay, but as you're going down the spine, feel when the feet push. Okay, so finding those movements of the spinal column, and you might be going really slow. So I'm just alternating drawbridge. I'm lifting the hips, stretching the arms overhead, and then letting my spine lower down slowly. And then once the spine makes its landing, I feel that little bit of arch, but it's pretty faint. Okay, now grab the ball, and this one you might want to have that blanket under your head again. So maybe if you took it away, slide it back in, then take the ball to that left rear. Now you can get a little bit more of that glute pressure across the bottom. This is great. I like it when we do have some with the bolster under the ribs in the beginning, and then towards the end, we have a little more satisfying crossing of the fibers of the left glute. So all you need is your ball under that left rear. And as you're going across, you can relax your hands, your arms by the sides, wherever it's comfortable, but really focus on that left glute across. And then switch sides. Step into your feet, lower your rear down, take the ball out from the left side. And then you just swing the knees to the left so that it's easy on the rear, right? You're not trying to grip your rear to get on the ball, and then tuck the ball to the right rear. Make sure it's high enough, right? So you can feel kind of the border of the pelvis, right? Kind of the closer to feeling some of the rims of these areas, right? The edge of the sensation, right? How do you find that? Right, it's going to go towards the joint, and then that's where sensation is. And then you're trying to rub into the muscle that's, extremely, it tolerates the ball really well, the glute maximus. But to make a difference, right, you want to really rub into the ball, pressure plus movement, gliding, okay? Pressure plus movement. So feeling the pressure into the ball or the ball into the glute. I don't know which is first. Okay. I think it's the combination of lying on the ball and pressing and going across. Okay. Now feel how the hips move. Now when we go into our final revolve core pose, you want to feel that the hips are movable. They also help offset challenges in our back. We can use these shapes to support and circulation in our back, stimulating that flow. So when we roll off that ball, we're just going to place it over on the left side and then take our bolster. Now, if you need to do a little windshield wiper motion, knees side to side before we take the crossover, go for it. Just don't bring the knees to your chest. That's going to be more of a shock to the sacrum or the lower back. It'll be a lot of flexion, right? So we're going to take the bolster. I would just push it with your feet and your hand to move it over to the right side. Blanket under head, right leg relaxes, bending, and then I swing the left leg over to the bolster. Okay, so now my back has a little bit of opportunity to have the ball kind of pressed in, but not everyone's a fan of this. Right? Some of you might decide, I don't want a ball in my back, thanks. Some might want to have the ball there as an anchor. And then take a sandbag if you like, across the left outer thigh. Okay. So taking a sandbag to the outer left thigh, and then as that sand is there, you're going to open out the left arm. Okay. You're just going to turn your head to the left, feel some rotation. Okay. That sand is supporting that left leg to cross over so that you have that anchor, right, to then stretch out through your lower back and your left arm, low back, spine, arm, chest. Okay, let's take a few moments here. Slowing, breathing. Now sliding the sand, if you have that, off your hip, and then see if you can go to side 2. Slow, move the ball aside, move the knees slow-mo. And then as both knees point up, you push into your feet, move your hips back to center. And then do everything delicately, right? You never know what you've woken up into your back, right? You want to give it easy motions, bolster to the left. And then I like to push into my feet and then just move my hips to the right. That sets off the movement of knee bending on the left and right knee bending and stretching over to the bolster on that left side, okay? Now, you might find getting the bolster high up feels really good. Some people find the opposite, pushing it down. Some put the bolster center of the thighs, kind of hug it, and that feels really comforting for your back. So if it's a bit challenging to get the chest to open, you can always opt for bolster center of the thighs, right? So you can kind of hug it. That's always an option if your back is just really, a little bit tender and the twist is a bit much. So ball to the lower back, sand option on the outer right thigh. And then as you're getting that sense of support and balance into these kind of large-ish fields of energy. I'm not saying these are the largest muscles or anything, but the side of the thigh, some of those fibers can feel kind of really pretty spicy when you try to massage them, right? So giving it the full reach of the hip. And then as your head rolls to the right, opportunity to stretch your chest. It is probably a little challenging, even for those of us that can get our arm completely on the floor. As we mature, this can get a little more challenging for sure. So I'd say if you can do this now, try to practice it a little bit during the week, right? Just relaxing on the floor and taking the legs over to one side and the upper body to go to the other side. So creating that nice rotation in the ribs. These might be as important for your breathing muscles as all the stuff we start class with, right? Feeling that resiliency start to build in the lung force, in the ribs. Let your head maybe roll to the right, or maybe it just feels like it's kind of teetering towards the right. Breathing slow. So feel the breath repetition. And notice where it is motioning, because when we come upside down the next few moments, you'll probably feel it progressively kind of pull in the belly across the whole belly. So now it's pulling in the ribs. Last few moments here. Now move the ball aside. If you happen to have the sand on, just slide it off and push it towards the wall. If you're going to do bolster bench, then you're going to roll to the side and stack your bolster up on top of a couple blocks. So it would be like this, or put your legs up on a chair or a couch or an ottoman. That's really, really nice to do. So I would say you can do either. Of course you can, but pull your blanket in towards the wall, bolsters right up against it. And then as you lift your hips up, you're going to pivot. Now this requires twisting, forward folding, back bending, and inverting all together, right? So it's all these motions that bring you into the legs lifted, okay? So it's not a small feat, even though there you're looking at your feet. Those are small feet. All right, so when the legs are lifted, I don't have to have my seat at the wall. Sometimes I luck out and it's there. It just happens to work. And sometimes it doesn't. And, my teacher's instruction on this is to have your legs a little bit away, because most people's hamstrings, this is not easy at all, okay? So your typical, just doing this, maybe starting later in life and so forth, hamstrings are going to find this a little challenging. So don't worry about it. Your hamstrings don't get straight up and down. Have some gap between the wall and your bolster, and then it's more slanted, okay? So option to have sand on the feet. Last pose, I promise, okay? Have that little bit of lift. We'll take about maybe just a couple minutes on this one. We'll time it. So we've got the legs with that reach, the feet up if your legs are on a bolster bench or an ottoman or couch, you won't be looking at your feet. But with the hip transfer, kind of feel how can you just relax your weight into the bolster. Not trying to make the hips a specific angle, not trying to turn anything out or turn anything in, just feeling this energy that's reversing that gravitational pull on the legs, on the heart, and the lungs. And then as you feel the arms find a place to either open out to the sides, and feel the belly lifting and relaxing back towards the spine. Relax the face, the jaw, the tongue. Now shift the feet away from the wall, bend your knees, and slide the sand off, or if you're in a space, you can just drop it overhead. It might make a big sound though, so don't scare yourself. But feel the knees bending so that you're hugging them in towards the chest with or without your arms. Gives a nice little application to the core, a little bit of pressure into the digestive tract. And then just roll to the side and let everything roll. And then come on around to take a seat. You can sit with the bolster right up against the wall, or if that's just too close for comfort, maybe you move it a little bit away or in the center of the room, and then find that progression of the neck. You might feel a little bit of chin down, chin forward, and then a little bit back, like you're moving your head back towards the wall. Okay, let your head tip to one side, feeling that length in the neck. And then let the legs relax, head tips to the other side. If they're kind of lifting up, that's okay. You try to lean forward from the sitting bones, moving the knees down. Come back in center, bring your hands to join the support of this community in practice together, feeling, breathing together. Inhale the breath, open the arms out a little bit, just the palms apart. And then exhale, bowing into the peace within your heart.